If you run a high ticket info business, then today's video might just be one of the most valuable videos you watch for your business, because if you're dealing with things like lead quality issues, your sales team is constantly whining and moaning about people showing up to calls who are just not qualified, and you're also dealing with things like incredibly low show rates and just overall low intent levels of people who your sales team are speaking to, then again, this video is going to fix that for you. If you're new to the channel, my name is Sebastian Robeck. I have been the previous CMO for Closers.io, multiple 8-figure-a-year sales training and recruiting company. I was also the director of marketing for an 8-figure regenerative medicine company. And current day, my team and I here at 7FM help high-ticket info brands scale to $1 million a month, and we do it really fucking well. And without further ado, let's dive right into today's video. So here's what I'm going to cover. Number one, here's the problem with modeling what works, right? And I'm going to dive deep into all these. Why messy ads, which is what I call them, are crushing in 2025. I'm going to go into what personality-based ads are versus resume-based ads, and which one I would recommend you focus on. I'm also going to go over what no one actually tells you about what truly makes an ad work. And then lastly, I'm going to show you exactly how to start making ads that make your market wonder how you know them that well. So starting with number one, here's the problem with modeling what works. So right now in the high ticket coaching, consulting, info space, and this has been the case for a while, there's this cycle that happens, and I've seen this at least 5 or 6 times over the past several years, where a particular operator in the space is testing a new strategy or a new approach to something. It starts to work really well. They start teaching it to a bunch of people. Everyone else starts doing it, and then it stops working. And people wonder why their copy and paste marketing is not working anymore. And so ultimately, the problem with modeling what works is that it's great in theory, and sometimes it can work for a period of time, but it's not so great in practice, because here's what happens. You see a success, and this is how it applies specifically to ads. The same thing applies to VSLs, funnels, everything in the entire ecosystem. But with ads, you'll see a successful ad and you go, oh, I'll just copy the format, because if that's working for that person, then it'll definitely work for my business. So you swap out the industry, you swap out the details, but you keep the structure. And then what happens is, more often than not, is you launch it and then crickets, right? It doesn't work very well. It doesn't convert nearly as well as some of your other ads. And you end up blaming the platform, you blame the audience, you say, oh, maybe I just need to put more budget behind it. It's all these external factors. But the reality is that the reason why modeling what works fails when it comes to ads is, oftentimes as a founder, or if you're running a marketing team, you end up copying the surface level components of the ad, but you're not actually understanding the psychology behind the ad and why it's driving people to take an action. And that particular ad that you modeled or even copied worked for that market that you saw it in, but not necessarily yours, because not every single market is going to resonate with the exact same type of ads or structure or content flow. And the other important piece here is that often when you model an ad that you saw and that you know to have worked in a different industry, you're missing the context, right? You're often missing the context, because that ad that worked might have been their 47th test, and you just have no idea. But so trying to make that ad work for your industry doesn't necessarily always work, right? And again, you're often also missing the avatar research, which I talk about a ton in other videos. But if you just straight up copy an ad structure from something that works, if you're not carrying this piece into the ads, it's very, very likely going to flop. And again, ultimately, different markets have different emotional triggers. And the real problem with this is that you're modeling the surface. You're not actually going underneath, right? So here's an example, right? You might see an ad that says, this weird trick helped me lose 30 pounds, right? Like a sort of normal weight loss ad hook. So you go and you copy that same structure for your business, and you go, this weird trick helped me scale to 7 figures. But the problem is that the weight loss market often craves these weird tricks, these hacks, these under the radar things, whereas more sophisticated business owners are not going to want some weird hack. They want something that's been proven, and probably something that's simple and goes against the grain of overcomplicated business growth strategies and systems. Now, moving on to the next point here, which is why messy ads are crushing in 2025. So You're probably wondering, what the hell are messy ads? Well, let me explain exactly what they are. So when I say messy ads, and I mean both video and image, and this concept of a messy ad also applies to the written copy as well. So for example, if you're running Facebook traffic, it applies to the written copy. And if you're running ads on YouTube, obviously it's going to apply almost entirely to the videos. So what I don't mean is a messy ad needs to be sloppy or unprofessional or conveys the message or energy that you just don't really know what you're talking about and it's all over the place. That's not what I mean by messy. Instead, it's human and relatable. So it also doesn't mean that a messy ad is necessarily like poor quality production where you're filming it in really, really low lighting, like on your phone, but with really shitty, with a really weird like camera angle and shitty audio. That's not what that means either. And so instead of that, again, it's not, rather it means genuine emotion and delivery. So I'll give you an example. One of the best ad types that we're finding right now for our clients that's working incredibly well is very simple selfie style ads on the founder's iPhone with them just walking at a very, very slow pace, typically somewhere outside or through maybe their office or somewhere inside with a particular set of like a background or a scenery, but specifically walking selfie style on their iPhone, talking just a little bit slower and almost like it's fireside chat style where you're just talking to a friend. Those ads right now are absolutely crushing. And what we're finding probably 80 to 90% of the time is they're outperforming ads where we do a lot of editing, a lot of overproduction. Even on the vocal delivery of the ads, they're a lot more like intense and over the top. Those are being outperformed by these what we're calling messy ads. And again, it doesn't mean you need to like ramble without purpose and talk for 5 minutes, aimlessly about some random point to your market. It's more about having a natural conversation that connects on an emotional level with the people that are watching you and that are seeing the ad rather, because ultimately, and this is why these quote unquote messy ads work. They feel real, number one. And that's a huge thing that I'm really, really seeing missing right now in the overall market with high ticket info and coaching businesses. Again, when you're modeling these ads at work, everything you're doing just fucking sounds vanilla. It feels the same. It looks the same. It's like people, founders and marketing teams for these businesses want to stand out, yet you're saying literally the exact same stuff as everybody else. And you're saying it in the same way, you're using the same editing style, the same captions, the same, like it's all the same stuff. And so if you really want to see outsized returns in your marketing dollars, you got to do something different. And this is one of the things you can do. And again, one of the reasons why these messy ads work is people ultimately, and this is a strong opinion of mine, is that people more and more today are craving connection and authenticity because AI, automation, robotics, it's all removing the soul more and more from more of what we do day to day as human beings. And you can only do that so much. And what I'm seeing happen right now, and you might even be seeing the same, is that there's more and more people who are like, I want real shit. I want a real human being. I don't want to see an AI UGC creator on my newsfeed as an ad. I want to see people in person. I just want more connection. And that's fucking normal because that's what we want as human beings. And so the more you can give this to the market, the better off you'll be. And ultimately, again, they're different. So when you do these messy ads, they're just different than everything else that everything else that is out there in the marketplace. And also, in my experience, they build trust a lot faster because people will resonate with imperfection. And again, imperfection doesn't mean lack of expertise or lack of demonstration of your expertise, because you can still show you're an expert in something and you can still be an expert in something and not be perfect and simultaneously demonstrate that you mess up and you make mistakes, because we're all fucking human beings and that's just what happens. And if you can demonstrate both of those things simultaneously, that's how you can really connect with your market. Just literally exactly what's happening here in these videos. I mess up sometimes and I don't care to take the time to edit it out to portray some perfect version of these videos. It's human, right? And again, they're harder to fake. So this gives you a bit of a competitive edge as well. It's not the biggest competitive edge in the world, but it is one of several competitive advantages you can deploy in your marketing, which is, again, something that your competitors cannot fake. They cannot buy. You cannot buy authenticity. You can copy an ad template, but you cannot copy realness and rawness and authenticity. So you want to use that to your advantage. So some examples of some messy ad elements are things like pausing to think mid-sentence, saying, right? Like just, a lot of people are going to tell you not to say those things because it's not polished. But again, we're not going for fully polished here. We're actually going what's going to connect, we're going for what's going to connect with the audience. Next up, let's talk about what I call the difference between resume-based ads and personality-based ads. This is huge. If you start making the shift, I promise you, to personality-based ads, you will see an instant difference in the performance of your ads. Guaranteed or your money back now, but I can practically guarantee it. So here's what I mean. Resume ads are really at the core ads that are calling out the demographic profile of a person. So think, hey, are you a roofing company doing $1 million a year? Are you a single man making $150,000 a year or more? If you're a woman in your 40s, if you're a coach doing 6 figures, if you're an e-commerce store owner, if you're a real estate agent with 5 years or more of experience, these are all demographic call outs, which again, every ad course, every marketing training teaches you to do this. And it's like, well, if you don't call out your target market, you're going to get the wrong people. And the truth is that is true. But if you do it this way, A, it's boring and you're gonna sound exactly like everybody else. And B, you're not gonna get the quality of clientele and leads coming through your funnel or low ticket buyers or whatever nearly as high of quality as you're gonna get if you target based off of personality. And when I say target, I mean create ads around personalities, not demographics. So for example, you can flip every single one of these into a personality-based ad, which is instead of the roofing company that's doing $1 million a year, it's the roofing business owner with 4 crews looking to get out of day-to-day ops. Or it's the guy that makes really good money, but is working 70-hour weeks and hasn't taken a real vacation in the last 3 years. It's also, instead of the woman in her 40s, it's the woman who built a successful business but feels trapped or feels suffocated by it because she's checking Slack while she's at her kid's soccer games and her kid just scored a goal and she missed it. That's totally different than the woman in her 40s. Or for example, if you look at the coach, right? The coach doing 6 figures, it's the coach who's amazing at delivery, has an amazing product, but hates being in the marketing department and checking ad campaigns at 11 o'clock at night. And so again, you're going to have the Notion doc in the description of this video so you can look through the rest of these examples in your own time, but I think you get the point here. And as you can tell, the key difference here is resume based is what they do for work, or just like, it's like their stats on paper, right? Personality based is more internal. So demographic is external, personality is internal, and it's really more about how they feel about their situation and their challenges. So here's why I'm seeing personality-driven ads work a lot better than demographic or resume-based ads right now. Ultimately, you're speaking to somebody's experience and you're speaking to their internal experience and their psychology rather than who they are on paper. Because who someone is on paper can and often does literally tell you nothing about who they actually are inside. And when you use these personality-driven ads, you're going to get better quality leads. Your sales team is going to talk to higher quality people. You're going to have better clients as well. Everything just gets better when you speak to somebody's personality and experience rather than who they say they are on paper or in a consensus form or a census, whatever it's called. You guys know what I'm talking about. So here's a test you can run right now. Like literally do this. You can pause this video and go and do this right now, which is go and read your ad copy. Go through your ads or have your marketing team go through your ads and ask yourself, does it sound like you're talking to a job description and a list of statistics on paper for that person? Or does it actually sound like you're talking to a human being? And if it sounds like you're talking to a job description, then go and change it up and talk to the real human experience. Next up, big one here. Here's what no one tells you about what really makes an ad work. Everyone thinks you need a crazy pattern interrupting hook, or you need an insane offer, you need wildly good editing and production quality. Now, let me be clear. Don't get me twisted here. All of these things matter. Am I saying that they have no place? Absolutely not. They all matter. However, they only matter to the degree that you do these other things that I'm about to mention well. Because if you do all these other things really, really poorly, None of these things are going to matter. Okay. Oops, there we go. None of these things are going to have the impact that they're designed to have for an ad creative. So after, again, literally, like multiple 8 figures at this point in driven revenue and multiple tens of millions of dollars in managed ad spend between myself and my team, here's what I believe actually makes ads work, and here's what we see in our experience with clients. Number one is avatar intimacy. So if you understand your market and who you're actually trying to speak to on such an intimate level to where you know literally their internal monologue, like you know what's happening inside their head, you know the thoughts that are coming into their mind at 3 a.m. You can predict their objections before they even voice them out loud. You speak their language, not marketing language. When you do these things, you're going to get people who go, how the fuck do you, how did you speak exactly to me? That was like you read my mind. You're going to get stuff like that happening way more often. And so this is the first huge component of what actually makes ads work, is truly knowing your avatar on an intimate level. Next up is emotional resonance. This is so critical. Again, I cannot tell you how many times I see people try and make their ads work, whether it's the founder who's still doing their own marketing or they have an in-house team and they're still doing the same stuff that they did when they were, starting out. And you're making these ads that are just lacking soul. Like, you need to watch through your ads after you film them and edit them, and even read through your copy. And it's like, do you feel it? Like, do you actually feel something when you read through it or watch it? Because if you don't, they're not going to work. Now, on the flip side, if you can hit on the feeling and not just the external problem, right? Like, yes, speaking to their situation and experience is great. But within that, if you can speak to the feelings that they are directly having surrounding their experience and surrounding their situation and whatever their problem is, that is going to create instant resonance. And that will carry you far more than some fancy hook or some over-the-top guarantee in your offer will ever. Next up within emotional resonance is you understand what they're really buying. And if you can understand what someone's really after, which is almost never what they say, right? Because if you think about it, if someone's like, well, I want to lose weight. Okay. It's like, well, why? If you literally just kept asking somebody why, like, go talk to your clients. Literally ask them, what made you want to become a client? Oh, well, I just really wanted to get my health in order. What do you mean? Tell me more. Well, I really wanted to stop waking up and feeling like a truck hit me first thing in the morning. And even though I slept 8 hours, I feel like I slept none at all. And I still felt like a zombie. Boom, there you go. And then you could even take that further. Like, okay, like, how does that show up throughout your day? Well, I get to 10 a.m. and I feel like it's already 5 p.m. and I've had an entire day. And then by the time the day actually ends, I have zero energy to play with my kids. And my partner feels like they're getting a shell of the previous version who they first met. Well, that's a totally different fucking thing than I want to get my health in check and have more energy, right? So if you can start speaking to that, you're going to have a lot more success, I promise you. So there's a couple other points here. Again, you'll have this Notion doc. You can go over these in your own time. Next up, timing and context. So I'm going to run through these here. So when you can create ads that speak to exactly where someone is at in their journey, that's huge. That's huge. And you have to again, this all goes back to understanding your market really, really intimately. But it's easy because here's a really interesting phenomenon that I found. When, as a founder, typically when you're marketing your business, you've already solved the problem that your market is still trying to solve and doesn't have a solution for. So you're much further ahead than your market, hence why you're selling a program, coaching, teaching, whatever. But what makes that challenging oftentimes is because you've already solved that problem, you no longer have the same direct experience that your market is still currently having to this day in this very moment. So your ability to consistently be able to emotionally connect back to that experience can sometimes be difficult because you've already moved past it. But it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that where you are is where your market is, and therefore you should speak to where you are because that's where you think everyone else is. But no, the truth is that a lot of your market is still going to be where you were at just a couple years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever. So you need to consistently expose yourself to what the market actually is experiencing and what they're saying. And within this is where they're at in their journey and what their current situation looks like. Because if you could do that, you're going to have a really good finger on the pulse of what I call like the market temperature. Like where is the market actually at any given moment? Because that also changes, and that's a whole other thing. But markets change because markets are just made up of human beings, and human beings change often. They're not necessarily, they are predictable in one way and also unpredictable in others. So you need to keep a finger on the pulse with that, because otherwise, if you don't, you're going to speak to what you think your market is actually experiencing and you're going to speak to where you think the market is at in their journey and what they're experiencing, not to where they actually are at. Next up, last point here, which is insight. So when you can speak from a place of authority and experience, having been through what they've been through, and you can speak to things like patterns that they don't even see themselves, right? So like, I'll give you a really good example. Lots of our clients here at 7FM, for our marketing firm, they come in thinking that they just need a better version of their current VSL or a better version of their current client acquisition system. But what they don't know is that going from, say, 200 or 300 grand a month to 800 a month or $1 million a month, those are two totally different scenarios. And you don't get there by just spending more money on your singular current form of client acquisition. Say it's a VSL call funnel, right? Or a long form webinar book a call funnel, for example. You're not going to get there by just spending more and doing more of what you already have, simply because it just no longer works nearly as well in the current marketing landscape, which is why we install what we call the conversion ecosystem, where we actually have multiple of these conversion funnels and assets built out in an ecosystem form where they all feed each other and benefit each other. And that is what actually helps our clients scale to $1 million a month. But they don't actually even often know that that's what they need coming in to speak with us initially. They just think they need something, something totally, they just need a little bit more of what they're already doing to scale to $1 million a month. And so that's an example of seeing the patterns that they don't see. And I'm only able to see that just because of my experience working inside of really, really large brands and helping info brands scale. So you want to speak to what you already have the experience of and what you can show your market that they may not already know or may not be able to see. And you want to be able to diagnose their real problem. So not just the surface level symptom, right? So if someone's like, well, I can't lose weight because of X, Y, and Z, you need to speak to what's actually the true problem underneath. And again, you need to understand their psychology behind their behavior. And if you can speak to all these things, I promise you, your ads will hit. And this is why, again, coming back up here, like what no one tells you about what really makes an ad work, these are the things. These are actually the things. And notice how none of these things here have anything to do with a framework or a template or a copy and paste, say these words. These are the elements, right? These are the elements, not copy and paste bullshit. And if you can master these, your business will never be out of quality leads and clients, I promise you. And so here's the reality, right? To wrap up here, most ads fail because they're written by people who don't know the market. They're either written by people who don't know the market, which typically, for better or for worse, is agencies who come in and they do a very small amount of initial market research. They have one call with the founder and they think they understand the market, and then they start writing ads to that level of understanding. Or it's, again, the founder still creating ads based off of where they think the market's at, but not actually understanding where they truly are at because they've moved well past it. And again, oftentimes it's created by marketers for other marketers, but your marketing team is probably not creating ads for the market. Like it's all in the subtleties, the language, the way you show up on camera, all these things I've been talking about. You got to understand what resonates with your actual target market, not what you believe. And also you want to move away from focusing on features and benefits. Features and benefits are great and they have a place. And for example, if you're talking to, say, a higher level awareness market, maybe it's a B2B offer, features and benefits can and often do have their place. However, if you're speaking to like a B2C market or a lower level awareness B2B, you still want to speak more to their feelings and their fears and their direct emotional or their internal emotional experience, not so much on the features and benefits of your offer, your VSL, whatever it is you're trying to send people to from your ads. And lastly, you want to, instead of trying to convince people, you want to connect. This is the way forward in 2025 and beyond, in my opinion, is connection, not convincing people, okay? Lastly, last hurrah here. Let's talk about how. So I've shown you I've shown you what needs to happen. So the elements that really make an ad work. Now I want to walk you through how to start doing this so that you can have ads that make your market literally wonder to themselves, How the hell does this person know me that well? Number one, stop trying to write ads. I know it's counterintuitive. Stop writing ads, start having conversations. So what you want to do is you want to start writing like you're talking to one specific person, not like you're trying to come out here and be this guru and be this like on your high horse and make some like hard-hitting thing that's going to like stop someone in their tracks. That's your traditional advice. We're not going the traditional route. If you want unconventional results, you got to do unconventional shit. This is how you start. Stop writing ads and start having conversations. Literally think to yourself, how does your market speak? What is going through their minds? What are the words they actually use, not what you think is going to sound good and fancy? This, I can't tell you how important this is, right? I can't tell you how many founders I see. They're like, oh, I think we should say this in our ads. And I'm like, why? Well, it sounds good. I think it's sexy. Well, it's like, but does your market actually speak that way? And it's like, well, not really, but I think it sounds good. It's like, cool. Well, that's not going to work. It's just the reality. So you want to address their specific situation, not just general problems. So again, speak to their specific experience. When you do that, it just hits different. I promise you. And lastly, you want to make it feel like you're reading their mind. Okay. And if you can do this, if you can do honestly all these 4 things right here alone, it's game over. Step 2, you want to get inside their head. So the first way to do this is you want to begin listening to sales calls and noting the exact phrases that your prospects are using. This is one of the highest leverage activities that we perform for our clients when we fully take over their marketing departments, because there's just so much gold sitting in sales call recordings. And we also do the same with client success calls, right? Assuming the clients, give us permission and all that, which 99% of the time they do. We actually go and listen to call recordings from the coaches and the CSMs, because that's also where you have so much gold living. You want to, again, pay attention to their objections and their concerns. Understand their day-to-day frustrations. What's happening at 3 a.m.? What's keeping them up at night? What's racing around their head when they're trying to fall asleep? And you need to know what they've tried before and why it didn't work. But the specifics, it's all in the specifics. Step 3, lead with insight, not information. Okay, this is huge. If you just come in with an ad and you try and overload someone with, like data and information, there's a place for data. There's a place for citing studies or statistics or whatever. Yes, but you don't want to overload them with all this information. Instead, you want to create insights. You want to create shifts in their beliefs of what they think is true, of what they think is possible. Okay, and you do that by showing them something that maybe they haven't considered. So you don't just tell them something they already know, right? So like if someone, for example, is trying to lose weight and they know that they probably should be eating in a calorie deficit, don't just come out and say, the truth about losing weight is you need to be in a calorie deficit. It's like, well, great. Tell me something I don't already know. Literally. literally tell them something they don't already know and show them something that they haven't considered. So it's like, it's not about eating in a calorie. It's not just about eating in a calorie deficit. What you might not know is that there's actually a specific timing of your meals that creates a blah, blah, blah in your metabolism and means that it's twice as easy to blah, blah, blah. You get where I'm going, right? That's what you want to do, is show them something they haven't considered. And you can do that also by reframing their problem in a new way that they might not have looked at their problem before. Lastly here is you want to give them an aha moment, ideally in the first 10 to 15 seconds. You want to give them one of those things where they're like, oh shit, well, yeah, that makes sense, right? It's just a reframe of how they've been looking at their experience and their problems. Step 4, test personalities, not just demographics. So this goes back to what we talked about earlier. You want to create ads for different personality types within your market, okay? I think I have an earlier YouTube video from a couple weeks ago where I give some tactical examples. I'll link that video in the description. That's what I call writing for splinter markets. And if you want specific examples of how to do that, I'm going to link that YouTube video in the description. So within this, you want to test different emotional angles. This is so huge. I love this shit, guys. I just get so excited, and I can't emphasize how much of a difference these things make, because when you start doing these things, you start to see results with your marketing, your sales, your client acquisition, and even your client results, honestly, that you just probably have not seen to the fullest extent up to this point. Test different emotional angles, test different sort of dimensions, if you will, of pains and experiences that your market is going through, and try and test more emotional angles, not just logical ones, right? Because the logic is great, but the emotion is really what drives people. And I feel like sometimes we forget that because we get so caught up in these copy and paste ad templates that are based so heavily on, logic and just thinking about this certain thing a different way or whatever. But really, it's the feeling. Everything is in the feeling, really. You also want to try testing different levels of sophistication and awareness. This is subtle, but very, very crucial. So I'll give you an example. If, let's say, you're marketing some sort of a hair loss and hair regrowth product, right? Let's call it a hair regrowth product rather, and you're marketing to the hair loss market. There's two different types of people, and let's just say we're marketing to men. There's two different men you can market to. You have, first of all, you have the guy who is, say, in his 40s or 50s, and his hair has been consistently thinning for the last 10 years. It's been consistently growing at a slower rate, and he's starting to find more bald spots in his head, and his hair is falling out in thicker and thicker clumps in the shower. And he's approaching the point where it's really damaging his self-confidence to a very deep level if it hasn't already. And he's getting to the point where he's considering a hair transplant, right? Or maybe he's even gotten one already and he doesn't want to do another one, and he's looking for an alternative solution because it didn't work very well for him the first time. So even those two demographics right there I mentioned are actually, there's some subtle differences. But a third one is the guy in his early 30s who's starting to notice a bit of thinning and a little bit of hairline recession, and he's getting a little nervous. He's not freaking out just yet, but he can see the writing on the wall, and if he doesn't do something about this now, then within 5 to 10 years, he's going to look like the bald guy in his 40s who he really doesn't want to look like because he really prides himself on the thickness of his hair and how it makes him feel in his day-to-day life, his confidence, his self-esteem and appearance. And so you would market to that guy differently because you're marketing more of a preemptive sort of emotional approach. Rather than, it's like stop him from getting to that point of feeling really, really bad versus the guy who's already pretty much feeling like shit about his hair and is desperate for a fix. Both of those demographics are workable and sellable to. You just have to speak to them in a different way. But you want to test different different sub-markets within your larger market like that, because you're just going to get different results with different people. And it just allows you to expand your marketing a bit so you don't become pigeonholed by just literally speaking to only one person, especially as you scale. If you're only spending, say, maybe 50, 100 grand a month, you can get away with 1 to 2 like sub-markets within your main market, depending on how big your main market is, of course. But if you are starting to really scale to multiple 6 figures a month in spend, you gotta expand your sub-markets. Step 5, embrace the mess. So what I mean by this, step 5, embrace the mess. So what I mean by this is don't overscript everything. Don't try and get your ads to be fully scripted to where you're literally just reading word for word off of a teleprompter. Leave room for space. Let your actual true emotion, let your energy come through into the ads. Be willing to sound human. Don't get caught up on sounding perfect. I know this is counterintuitive. I get it. You're like, man, but I got to put a good impression out. First impressions matter, blah, blah, blah. Yes, all those things are true, but that doesn't mean you need to be perfect. And ultimately, you want to trust, and I invite you here to trust that your authenticity, your rawness, your realness will be being really, really polished every day of the week. Short term, like here's the thing, when you have those really polished ads, highly edited, fast-paced images, videos, subtitles, sound effects popping up all over the place, it just attracts a certain kind of person. It attracts a certain kind of customer and client. And if you want higher quality people coming through your funnels and becoming clients, and you want your sales team to talk to better people, you want your client success team to speak to better people, lead with authenticity on the front end, and you will attract just better clients. Honestly, you'll attract better quality people. So I invite you to trust that. And lastly here, the goal when you're creating these ads that make people wonder how well you know them how you know them that well is your prospect should think, even if not consciously, subconsciously, how the fuck does this person know exactly what I'm going through? Because when someone feels, which is literally the next point here, when someone feels so seen and understood that it like penetrates them to the core, they're going to take the next action. They're going to explore more of what you have to offer. It's just inevitable. And you want to make sure that like what you're going for here is for someone to feel seen and understood, but not sold to. It's a key difference. More and more people are not wanting to feel sold to or talked at. They want to feel seen and understood. And the next point here is they should want to know more about what you have to offer, like I just said a minute ago, because you clearly get it. Like, I'll give you an example. One of our clients is in the health space. The amount of leads that we get coming onto sales calls who say, honestly, I'm not even fully clear on what you guys do. Like, I know a bit about it, but I'm here because from what you guys said in the ads and the video, you get what I'm going through. And I'm confident you guys can help me. So tell me how it works. That's powerful. That's really, really powerful. And again, you get raving fan clients. It's huge. It's huge. And lastly, they should feel like you're speaking directly to them, not to every Joe Schmo that exists in the market. So that is how you fix your ads that suck. If you take this, if you're a founder, use this if you're still heavily in the weeds in your marketing. If you have a marketing team, give this Notion doc to your team, have them start implementing these principles. This is what we use for all of our clients when we're creating any new ads, whether it's written, video, images, doesn't matter. And if you implement these principles, I promise relatively quickly, you will see an uptick in your performance, in the quality of the people coming through your funnel, and your sales team is going to be like, guys, what happened on the ad side? Because whatever you're doing on the media buying is amazing. Keep doing it. And it's not really going to be about the media buying. It's going to be about the actual messaging and what it is you're saying in your ads. So with that said, I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. And lastly, if you are the founder of a high ticket info business and you are stuck at a couple $100,000 a month, you can't figure out why, you can't figure out what to do about it, then in the description, I highly implore you to go and grab the $1 Million a Month KPI dashboard. It's a completely free tool I've built for you as a founder to get a crystal clear snapshot of exactly how your business is performing from a marketing and sales standpoint. And more importantly, you're going to have access to a growth modeling tool that's going to allow you to find out exactly what needs to happen in the business to get to the revenue targets that you have. So with that said, go ahead, pick up the dashboard, give this video to your marketing team, and I'll see you in the next one.